With the launch of the global version of Black Clover Mobile, some people have been wondering what characters are good for PvE and what characters are good for PvP, and even more than that, what characters are going to have longevity or be good in the future. Well, thanks to the fact that JP and KR are so far ahead of the global version of the game, we know what characters are coming next, and we know how good the current characters in the game are going to be in the future compared to those upcoming characters. So today we're going to be taking a look at the PvE and PvP tier list for global and comparing them to the KR and JP tier list. So starting with the PvE tier list, looking at S+ rank, we have Charlotte right now and Yami. If you haven't used these two characters in PvE, they are very, very good and they can help carry you through. Charlotte is pretty much free, so I mean, use and abuse that. We also have Lotus over here and Mars. Lotus is an insane debuffer. Mars is insane defense. They work very, very well together. And we have the friend system on global as well to help us through story. Anytime you can use and abuse the friend system, I really like using Mars as a defensive unit. So I would recommend using him every chance you get because he will literally carry you through the PvE story and you can take on enemy teams that are a much higher battle power than yourself. So looking at these S+ rank characters, you can see that Charlotte for PvE on the global side is S+, but then if you look at the KR and Japan version, at the current time where they're at in the game, she is still actually S tier. So she is going to have some longevity in PvE and continue to be good. So this is definitely a character you can invest in and focus on getting up to LR, and it would be worth it, right? Besides that, we have Yami. Yami is currently at S+. He goes down one rank as well to S, so he is still actually very good in the future of the game as well for PvE. Lotus goes down to S, and same with Mars. So all these characters just go down one rank because they get overshadowed by other characters that become S+ later on KR and JP, which those characters are right here. I'll talk about them at a later date when they start to come out. I'm not going to focus on them too much, but let me just say, this character right here is a must summon. Noelle Swimsuit is literally like one of the most broken characters in the game. Insanely good for both PvP and PvE. But moving on to S tier, right now this Asta is really insanely good, and I would say both PvP and PvE. He is crazy good and broken later on as well. He doesn't even drop that much. He drops from S tier down to A tier on both PvE and PvP, and so he's just always going to be a solid character. I don't think he's going to be the best character once the other characters come out, obviously, which is why he's dropping in the tier list. But I think if you want a solid investment, Asta is definitely a solid investment as far as seasonal characters go. Beyond that, we have Finral. Finral is an SR character when you initially get him. That's right, an SR character can be very good for PvE and PvP. It's crazy how good this Finral is, actually. So if you have Finral, invest in him. He will be useful into the future. I mean, look at right now on global, he's S tier, but even in the future with all the new units that have been introduced on the JP version of the game, he is still A tier for PvP. So insanely, insanely good. And then we have all these other characters over here for the sense type. We have Mimosa, who is S tier. I would maybe argue that, you know, because we don't have any sense types up here for S+, Mimosa could be the one S+, in my opinion. I didn't make this tier list, of course, but I might put her S+ because she is that useful and that good. I don't know about using this character. I haven't used Nebra very much, so I can't speak to their uses, but there's another SR character that you can basically get free to play, invest in, and make use of, and you can see they are still useful to this day in PvP, or not PvP, sorry, in PvE on the Japan and KR, that's Korean versions of the game. I know I've been saying JP and KR and not explained it, so for anyone that's new and doesn't know what JP and KR mean, there you go, Japanese version and Korean version of the game. And then beyond that, we have Licht, who has yet to come out on the global version. So, or is he out? Is he out? Was he with the? He might have been out with the general banners. Okay, well, originally I didn't pay that much attention. Licht and Rhea were not out with the game's launch. They were banners that came later. I guess maybe they were out for global launch and I didn't even notice. But yeah, these characters are pretty good. Licht is really, really good. And Rhea, as you can see, went from S tier up to S+ tier on KR and JP just because of the characters that came out and he synergized well with. So yeah, this is definitely a character, if you get him, invest in him. Very, very, very good. Radis, I would say, is a solid character. I'm actually super stoked that I pulled him. He's a great defender, and he is versatile because he's both useful for PvE and PvP. He's a solid overall unit. Fauna, I did have the pleasure of pulling on JP. I think she's okay, but I don't think she's that great like in PvP. But as far as PvE goes, she will be a solid unit for you in PvP. And then William is still S tier right now on global. He will definitely drop down to A tier, arguably even B tier. I don't think he's that great as we get newer units, but he's an okay character. And then below that, we have the A tier, B tier, C tier, and D tier characters. I'm not going to talk too much about them because this is where you get into the SR characters and the rare characters and things like that. But yeah, that's generally the gist of the global rankings right now and where they are. And notice that there is Leopold way down here. Poor Leopold, he's just getting disrespected. But you know what? That's kind of where he belongs. And then also, I want to point out, we have Jack and Nozel also down here on B tier. Nozel deserves to be like C or D tier. He's actually really, really bad. I tried him a lot on JP. I can fully say that because he was the main character I pulled on JP, and I did not like him. Now the big thing I want to talk about is PvP. PvP is something you guys should absolutely be grinding right now while you have the chance, while people are all still low level in battle power, because as people learn the game, as people progress in the game, it is going to become increasingly harder to climb, and you're going to want those free black crystals that you get from being in the higher ranks. So definitely climb right now if you can. My boy Asta is right now in S+ rank for PvP, and that makes me very happy considering I have him almost fully enhanced. I'm one copy away from having him fully enhanced, which is actually insane. I didn't mean to pull that many. I was just trying to get a copy of the Academy Yami, but no, it just wanted me to have a bunch of arguably the best seasonal character in the game besides Mimosa. I don't know, they're about on par, but I'll take it, you know. And then notice that we have SR characters here, Valtos and Finral, up at S+. That's right, SR characters are S+ rank, guys. Compared, they are better than the S characters and the SSR characters below. So here are some SR characters you can invest in to help your account to be good in PvP. Like, these characters are very, very good in PvP because they're fast. They're fast, and that's going to give you a massive advantage, and that's really annoying when it comes to PvP. Radis is an insane defender, really, really good, and you'll notice that he is still S+ later on. So this is a good investment. Mimosa is still a solid investment. It goes from S+ to S. Asta, a little bit less of a good investment. Okay, and this is what makes me sad that I pulled so many of him, because Mimosa stays good, Asta not so much, because he has single target damage, and eventually he'll just kind of get outshined by counters and things like that. Specifically the counters from this chick right here, who is an S+, by the way, for both PvE and PvP, and she's really freaking annoying. But yeah, so going back to the global tier list, we have also Lotus, Mars, and William all up here in S+ tier. William drops to A. Arguably, once again, he might drop lower as more units come out. I think he should drop lower. He's not that great. Mars still S and Lotus still S. So if, like I was saying on the reroll summons, you pulled Lotus, or even if you pull Mars, you're winning, because those are like the big reroll summon characters that you want to get if you can get them. Charlotte is in S tier right now. She drops down to A tier for PvP. I would argue, once again, she's kind of like Vengeance. She's not very good later on in the meta of PvP. So this is a character that I don't necessarily recommend investing in when it comes to PvP, but go back to the PvE part, she's very, very good for PvE, so you can invest in her for that. Yami goes from S tier all the way down to B tier. He did exactly what I was saying Charlotte should do, and it's crazy to me that they rate Charlotte more than they rate Yami, the people who run this website, but I kind of get it. But I feel like these, like, if you're gonna put Charlotte in A tier, she needs to go down to B tier with Yami, because she's equally as bad, not any better than Yami. We have Licked right now in S tier, and he goes down to A tier, and Rhea is in S tier, goes down to B tier. So yeah, not a great investment on him for PvP, but once again, look at the PvE side of it. He's very, very good for PvE. We have Fauna in S tier for PvP. She goes down to A tier. I personally use Fauna. I had her up to LR 100 quite a bit in PvP, and I don't think she's all that. I don't think she's that great, and personally, I would not recommend investing in her for PvP purposes. As far as PvE goes, I think she's good for that, but when I used her in PvP, I didn't like her all that much. Yami, on the other hand, goes from S tier down to A tier. He is one that I kind of did honestly like in PvP because he stops healing, and that's massive. And so I like Yami a lot, and it's kind of crazy to me that he's not S+, but at the same time, he just doesn't do as much as Mimosa and Asta. But I love this version of Yami, and I think he's really, really good. And notice that as far as investing in this character goes, it's not so good to invest in him for PvE, and also he drops down to A tier in PvP, so this might be the one of the 3 seasonal characters that is out right now that you don't want to invest in as much. Maybe just get him to LR for now and then just kind of stop there. Don't worry about doing his talents, don't worry about enhancing him or things like that. But yeah, so then we go down to A tier. Leopold gets a little bit of redemption here. He is now in A tier. He was in B tier for PvE. He goes down to B tier later on versus the KR and JP versions of the game. Leopold is just a character that never really has found a great strength in the game. He's always been very mid, so that's kind of where he is. Sally is just an all-around solid unit. You'll notice that she doesn't change at all from where she's at now to where she will be later in the game. She just remains a solid A tier character. So that might be a character, like if you just need a filler and you're free to play or something like that, this is a solid character to invest in. She's a good supporter. She raises crit rate for your team. Really, really helpful actually when it comes to clearing PvE and doing PvP content. So really good character. Then we have Fugelion, who is, I don't know, sometimes I feel like he can be really strong. A lot of times though, I feel like he's just subpar, and I understand him going down to B tier later in the game. I think he should almost be C tier sometimes. Like, he's just not very good. Rill is a character that I thought was going to be really good at the launch of JP. He has the Incapacitate, which can be insanely good with his ultimate move. However, that's just not enough to like say that he's good, because he doesn't do good damage. He's just not, I don't know, he's not great. He's not a great debuffer. Lotus is by far the superior debuffer. There's plenty of other debuffers that are much, much better than Rill. So you're just really not going to run this character much, if at all, even right now in the game. So definitely not later in the game. So I wouldn't worry about investing in him. Vanessa is an SR. I will be honest, I haven't had a lot of time or practice with to actually try her out, so I can't really say too much about it, but she is an A tier right now for global, so you might want to invest in her. If you don't have any of the other units above her, she could be a solid character for you. She is a supporter, and she only goes down to B tier later on, which isn't great, but isn't terrible. Nozel, I have no clue how this guy made it into A tier for global right now, because honestly, all he does is attack down, and it's kind of garbage. So I would personally put him in B tier. Like, how is Jack below? Jack actually has like good single target DPS. So personally, I might switch Jack and Nozel and put Jack above Nozel, because Jack does have the single target DPS. But I would, you know what? There is another version of Jack that comes out later, so just keep that in mind. But this Jack is not very good. And then we have Veto down here. So you notice that Veto is not good in either PvE or PvP. So if you pull this character, probably don't invest in him as an SSR character. There are SRs who are even better than Veto. So he's like, I wanted this character to be good. He's crazy strong in the anime and stuff like that, right? But just as far as characters go, there's better ones out there, right? And then below that, we have the rares and other SRs and stuff like that. So once again, I'm not going to focus too much on those. And let's take a quick peek over here at the KR and JP versions of PvE and PvP, and then we'll end off the video. So this is what KR and JP look like right now. I'm not going to go through and explain every unit like I did for Global, because we're playing on Global. We're not playing on JP and KR anymore. But yeah, this Noelle is insanely good. Fauna is still pretty, like I said, decent when it comes to S+ tier, PvE, sorry, that's what I was thinking. Rhea's still really good. Julius is really good for PvE, so yeah, I can't wait for Julius to come out. I can't wait to play him. He's going to be a lot of fun. This Noelle is pretty decent. This Yuno is not that great. I don't like him that much. He's, like, you can see his PvP ranking right there. He's B tier at best. So yeah, there's some very cool characters coming out though. I don't know how the Halloween characters are going to work, like with Charmy here and stuff like that. Are we going to have to wait till Halloween to get them? I have absolutely no clue. Are we going to have to wait till summer to get the swimsuit characters? I don't know. But notice that these swimsuit characters, the Gauche and the Charmy, who came out alongside Noelle, are down here in A tier. Did they come out alongside or right after? There was like 2 seasonal banners with like swimsuits, so I can't remember which one came first. Vanessa's way down here for PvE as well. Vanessa, like everybody simps for Vanessa, right? But they made her kit terrible. Oh man, it makes me so sad. And then over to PvP here, we have all of these characters, and Charlotte is probably pretty cool. Magna's pretty cool. I haven't actually had chances to test these two, but they look awesome. We have Halloween Noel as well in S+ tier. I don't know. Like I said, I hope we don't have to wait to get the Halloween characters, because these are some of the better characters in game when it comes to PvP, and it would really suck to have to wait. But notice Mimosa and Valtos still here in S tier, even in the JP tier list. So like these characters being here should just reaffirm to you guys that these two characters are worth investing in. That's how good they are. So keep that in mind. And then below that, we have Asta still in A tier, so he's still worth investing in. Yami is still in A tier, so he's worth investing in. These are Season 1 characters that are out right now, so those characters are all definitely worth investing in. If you have Sally, she just remains a solid A tier character overall. And there's the Jack I was talking about that does get placed higher, the Clover Academy Jack. He is an A tier. So yeah, that is the tier list right now going on for global compared to the JP and KR tier list. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully this helps you out a little bit, you know. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please go down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and peace.
Can anybody out there